Hi guys, welcome. So today I'm just hanging out in the garage, trying to get caught up on a couple different things. I was working on some eBay stuff, ran to the dump earlier and dropped off electronics and just kind of working on a couple different things. The pressure washer is pretty much wrapped up. I have to do a final video on that. I did some sound recordings, did a bunch of different stuff. So I'm gonna try to wrap that up today. Some Innova car products came. I know Eddie says Innova Care, but there's no E at the end, so it's got to be Innova Car. So, you know, I ordered one of most things. So there are a couple things that I didn't get just because, I don't know. I don't have certain climate issues that some people may have. And certain products are not easy for me to test or would sit on the shelf for a long time. So I picked up, I want to say like 15 or 20 products out of their line. So they were all shipped on the same day, but they were in 2 boxes. One of them arrived today, the other one didn't. So I'm guessing I'll get the rest on Monday. Their rinseless is here. I was hoping for their colored shampoos, but that, although I ordered it, didn't come today. So I got D1 iron, SD1 iron, D3 tar, SC5 tire dressing, S3 rinseless, and then I'm missing pre-wash, quick detailer, foamy blue foamer, no odor, check, scale, degreasing, and glass cleaner. My Krenzla is sold. I haven't shipped it. It's sitting over there. I told him I'm not shipping it out until I'm done with this. Yeah, and honestly, like the pressure washer is super solid. I'll show you here on camera. So this is the finished-ish product. I say ish because there's a couple little minor tweaks that I might still do. So this is the control box from the can pump shelf. So I took it off the can pump shelf. I mounted it here on my wall. This is the plug to plug it in. So you could just leave this plugged in at all times if you want to, or unplug it. I generally like to unplug things, especially something like this. If that were to fail and this runs all night, it could blow up the motor. It's not hard to just unplug it. There are 2 buttons here. So there's a red and a green. When you press the green button, it's gonna turn this on. And then it builds pressure, and then if you're not pulling the trigger, it runs for 3 seconds and then shuts off. So if we press this, it'll run for 3 and then shut down. Just like that. And then when you pull the trigger, it'll run the entire time you're pulling the trigger. And then when you let go, it runs for 3 and shuts off. I do still have a little bit of like final tweaks and stuff like that I want to do. You know, I had to patch the wall here because the switch that I had here, when I pulled the Velcro off, it had the adhesive ripped a portion of my wall off. So I have to paint that. I'm thinking about painting this like black or something like that to match the garage a little bit better. You know, it's blue and the tanks are blue, but the tanks are going away. This is a darker blue, so really the only thing it's going to match is like the PEX in this. So I think at some point I'll probably paint this blue. Another thing that I want to do is this is the pressure switch. So this is what triggers the auto stop. I have I have a longer cord for this, so I'm going to lengthen this cord and just make it so that it's nice and clean, because like this is all the slack that I have. Now remember, this on the factory shelf is mounted under here, and you have plenty of length. The other thing that I could potentially do is replumb this and put this over here. They tell you to put it after the unloader valve. I don't know if there's a reason for that. Maybe because once it's unloading, there wouldn't be enough pressure here to trigger it. I don't know. But anyway, you know, potentially I could move that in or something along those lines. It's a shame because it could actually replace this fitting that I have right here, and then this would actually be a little bit more compact. This in total length is like 24 inches. I think it looks fine. It's big, you know. And one other thing that I might do, I've got these like isolation vibration feet here. I might add another one just kind of under the pump. The pump has like these threaded inserts on it. So I might just put one like under here just to give it a little bit more support on the front, because it is a little front heavy. You could see that these are like more extended than these ones are. Nitpicky things at this point. Like it's really good. It works really well. So super happy with it. Pressure switch, like I said, that's gonna get lengthened. It's the wire for it. So I just have to do that. So today, I'm gonna finish up the hitch installation on the Mercedes GLK. So I'll pull that in. I installed the hitch off camera. I mean, it's 5 bolts. Like it's not hard enough for it to need to be a camera thing. I'll show you what I mean when I pull it in, but basically the rear cross member that goes between the rear tires, there's an oval shaped hole in it, and they give you 2 metal plates. One has nuts welded into it, and the other one is just a flat plate with 3 holes. And basically what you do is if the front of the car is this way, you put the nuts here, or the plate with the nuts here, the flat plate here, and you bolt 2 bolts right through it. So it kind of sandwiches that rear cross member. And then the hitch itself has 3 bolts with nuts. One goes through that plate, one goes under the right side of the back of the car, and one goes under the left side of the back of the car. There's a hole there behind the bumper, already there, already drilled. Very, very simple. Honestly, it's probably a 20-minute installation, as long as you can get under the car. And I did it by myself. It took me probably 45 minutes, but I did it in my driveway by myself with nobody to hold the thing up, and it weighs like 75 pounds. So you're there like trying to get it into place. If you had help, it's probably a 15-minute job, especially if you had a lift or some way to put the car up above you a little bit more. The car is fairly low from the factory, which is a problem that we might solve soon. You can see here, the hitch is installed. Like I said, there's an arm that goes up right here, and there's a hole. It's kind of behind the bumper in the piece of metal that comes down. There's a hole already there, already here. All you do is stick it up, and it's a bolt through the hitch, through there's like a metal plate through the car, and then on the other side there's a washer and a nut. Same thing on this side. Very, very simple. And then in the center there's a cross member. I'm gonna pop this out. I just ordered a different receiver for the hitch, and what I mean by that is this, or you could call it a ball mount. This is the one that was on the Honda. So something to know about if you've never towed before, or maybe you're thinking about doing it, it's very easy to do. You know, obviously practice makes perfect, like a lot of things, but I've done it for a long time with, you know, started off with lawnmowers and ATVs, towing garden carts, and, you know, and then eventually I've owned single jet ski, double jet ski, multiple ATV trailers, 6x12 landscape trailer, and then I've rented U-Haul trailers probably 20 times. I've towed cars hundreds of miles. You know, we towed the Miata home. We towed the Honda Fit and the Corolla. So I've done it a bunch. When you're setting up your hitch, you really need 3 different things. You need the hitch itself, which is this giant piece of metal. You need a ball mount with a ball, which is this guy. Sometimes it's called a receiver with a ball. And you need a wiring kit. The wiring kit, it does all of your lights, like your brake and turn signals and all of that on the trailer. So it's important that, like, they make these in a lot of different drops or rises. It's important that your ball is at the right height for whatever trailer that you're towing. So in my case, I don't currently own a trailer. I had one when we moved here. I don't really have storage for it, so I ended up selling it. And generally I just rent a trailer either from U-Haul or from Home Depot. They both do trailer rentals, and they're pretty inexpensive. And that is kind of a hack, like if you're moving. If you rent a U-Haul truck, the truck is like $39 a day plus mileage. The trailer is like $39 a day with unlimited mileage. So I've done that several times where I've rented the trailers and used them for moving, and they're awesome. And that's what we'll end up doing here. There's the whole reason behind this is we're going to have to help a family member move, and, you know, I've got some other things coming up. And then generally, like, I get a trailer once or twice a year, usually for like a whole day. and I'll use it for stuff like I'll take a load of just spring cleaning, trash, that kind of stuff to the dump. I'll usually go to like Home Depot or Lowe's and I'll pick up bags of mulch, black mulch for around the house. I'll get like 40, 50 bags in one shot, just bring them here, and then that way I don't have to, you know, get it delivered multiple times per year, go and get bags or put them in the back of the car, and, you know, all of that kind of stuff. So it's a useful thing to do. So when you're setting up your hitch, one of the things that you're going to have to care about is the height of this. So when you have your trailer connected, you want the tongue of the trailer, the metal bar that goes from the trailer to this, to be level with the ground when it's connected here. So because I'm going to be using a U-Haul trailer under most circumstances, they require a ball height of somewhere around 18.5 inches. That's the target. So if you're at 18.5, you're going to have a level trailer. You could probably deviate from that a little bit. You know, 17.5 to 19.5 is probably pretty reasonable. You don't really want to go much in one direction or another. If you're too low, you're going to have, like when you're pulling in and out of parking lots, or like when the sidewalk is cut because you're pulling into a driveway, you're going to have scraping from the tongue. And if it's too high, then you could have weight transfer issues because you've got the front of the trailer jacked up, and then you could also scrape the back of the trailer, the bottom of the trailer. So right now I'm at about 16.5 inches, so I have a different ball mount coming for this. So this, all ball mounts have a rise and drop. So basically you measure from here, where my finger is, to here, and that is the amount of rise. Or you measure from here to here, and that is the amount of drop. So this is probably like a 3-inch drop or a 1-inch rise. So I ordered one that is going to be a 3-inch rise, which will get me, I'm at 16.5, I'll be at about 18.5, 18.25, something thereabouts. I did get a black ball for it too, because I think the black is going to look a little bit better. I'm not generally the kind of guy who leaves one in all the time, you know, the shin buster, but on this car it is kind of nice and tight. Another thing, these will generally rattle, and it actually sounds like you've got like a thunk in your rear suspension when you're driving around, because these kind of like clunk in and out. So even when the pin is in there, this guy, hear that like rocking? Well, you can hear that when you're driving down the road. So there are 3 ways that I found to deal with that. Number one is they make units like this that actually have like a shock mount in the center of them. Those work fairly well. They actually make one that has like a thing back here that you tighten down a nut and it kind of like expands it out. Option 2, and I've done this successfully for years, is you can just get some electrical tape and you run a ring around like right here and a ring around like right here where the edge is. And you get it just tight enough that it barely slips in there. And that'll keep it nice and snug. And over time, you might have to redo it, add another wrap, something along those lines. But that works fairly well also. Option 3, which is what I currently do because I actually like a little bit of added security. So option 3, you get one of these. This is an anti-rattle hitch tightener, something along these lines. So basically you loosen this up. This sits like that. And when you tighten up these bolts, it tightens this to the actual unit. Now you still obviously have to stick your hitch pin in and all of that stuff. This might not work on every single car ever made. On this particular car, it would actually probably work a little bit better on the top instead of the bottom. But you basically put that in, stick that pin there, tighten this where it is, and this works really well to you know, keep your ball mount from rattling. So anyway, today we're going to be installing the wiring harness, and I actually had kind of an interesting moment around this. Like I mentioned before, this is the 3rd GLK that I've owned. And I was looking for a guide on how to install the wiring harness because it's been years. I actually found that I wrote a guide on mbworld.com on how to install it. So it's pretty well written, pretty complete. I'll put a link to it in the description, so if you're looking to do this yourself, you can just follow that guide. There's pictures and all kinds of stuff. And then today, this will be more of a vlog, I think. So basically what we need to do is we have to tap into the taillights here and here. So you get to both of them here by pulling these caps out. There's one here, one here. And then we have to, mount the controller inside the car. And then, so this car is a little fancy in that it has LED taillights. And back in the day, old school setups, you would basically just tie the trailer right into your factory taillights because your factory taillights were not smart. There weren't things like light out detectors in cars where like the computer knew that your light wasn't working. It was just kind of a dumb system. Now we have all those things. So the way that you get around that is by using something like this. So this is a powered, circuit protected taillight converter. So basically what that means is this powers the trailer. Your taillights are only giving it a signal to tell it when to come on and when to not come on, and it's not actually drawing any power from your factory taillights, so it doesn't trigger your light out detectors. And if there was something that happened to the trailer where like the wiring got cut or was dragging on the ground or something along those lines, it wouldn't ruin any of your internal circuitry. It would just, this would protect your car from that. So in order to use something like this, you'll see that we actually have 6 wires here that we have to connect. And then this is the plug that goes off to your trailer, and it's nice and long. So most people will mount these underneath the car if they're towing on a pretty regular basis. I don't tow very often, so generally what I do is I actually keep this harness on the inside of the car, so I'll mount the controller inside here somewhere, and I'll just wrap up the harness and stick it in one of these doors. And then when I'm towing, I'll pull it out and I'll just kind of shut it in the gate right here. And then tow, do my thing, everything is fine. When I'm done, I put it away. I wouldn't do that long term, but for an occasional, I'm gonna tow once or twice a year, I think that's totally fine. So what do we have here? Black needs power, always power. White needs ground, nice and simple. And then the other ones, yellow, brown, red, and green, are going to vary from car to car to car to car. So there is a 2-wire setup, there is a 3-wire setup, and there is a 4-wire setup, depending on how your car deals with these types of things. So everybody is going to need a right turn signal, everyone is going to need a left turn signal, or right is green, left is yellow. The red and the brown, those are brake and tail. So brake would be like when you press the brakes, and tail would be like you turn your headlights on, your tail lights come on too. Sometimes those are integrated in turn signals, and sometimes those are not. So the easiest way to figure out what type you need is to test. A 2-wire is going to have stop and turn together, and tail being a separate light. 3-wire is going to have stop, turn, and tail all being different. So there's different wiring diagrams for the different types of systems. Now, because mine is a 2-wire system, I'm going to be tying the red to ground. So basically I have these 3, the red, the white, and the black, that all need to go to power and ground. Now in this car, there's a ground right here, and there's actually a battery right underneath this compartment. It's sitting right here. That's used for the automatic start-stop thing. We're going to connect all of these to that. And this module is going to end up living up in this cavity here somewhere. And then the other wires are going to go to the lights. This module kind of lends itself to living in this area just based on the like the wiring lengths that they give you. So there's, power and ground are this long. We might have to play around with some wire lengths and stuff like that because they give you a short wire for the driver side and a long wire for the passenger side, but this is going to have to be over here on this side. So just kind of taping this up, making it look nice and neat. Back from my car stereo days, it's just kind of how we did it. When I'm doing car installations of any kind, I only use Super 33. It's a 3M. It's really good at working in heat and cold and a variety of different temperatures. It doesn't really fail. It doesn't really fall off. It's just about as good as it gets. For some cars, you can actually buy what they call a T-harness. And those are super cool. So like when I did my Nissan Frontier pickup truck, I bought this T-harness thing. And basically you go under the light in the back and you unplug something, plug this thing in, go under the other one, unplug something, plug this in, and you're good to go. It's like a 10-minute install. This is obviously a little bit more challenging. They don't make a T-harness for this car. You know, whatever. Some other things that I want to try to get done this weekend. I'm going to be I'm going to test out Iconic when Jessica gets back. So we'll be see how that is. Needed another rinseless, like I need another hole in my head, but I like grabbing special edition drops too. And you know, this one's Ivan and Eddie, who are both pretty into rinseless. So I'm guessing it's going to be pretty good. The downside to something like that is, if it is good, it's a one-time deal. I think drops are fun. I have a couple from OG over the years and other brands. Pop that off. Again, kind of like I was saying, like you don't break clips and stuff on these. This came off, no problem. There is a screw here, so you don't break it. I'm gonna have to run a wire across here, or maybe, I think I can grab the taillight here if I remember right. So I'll have to look at that. I have another water tank coming, which I've talked about my tank system before, where I'm storing DI water back behind the camera there by the pressure washer. A couple people have asked recently about that because I don't know how I'm working on the pressure washer stuff. They've probably seen it in the videos and whatnot. So I'll dig into that, but these next LED lights are pretty sweet. Here. Check this out. These next LED lights. There's two of them. You don't need to use both, but you can. So like I could probably just shut that side off. And then it just grabs on here. Pretty sweet. If we look in the corner, I have a battery here. This power and ground is available. There's also a ground right here, this brown, where all of the factory wires are grounded to. There's this module here, which this is it's basically a relay for battery isolation. So it just keeps this battery from going dead. So most people are probably familiar with eco start stop, meaning like when you go to a red light or a stop sign and you stop the car completely and you sit there for a second, your car shuts off, and then you pick your foot off the brake, it turns on again. It's like the most annoying thing in the world. It's so dumb. Well, this obviously has it, and a lot of other cars do too, but this has it. And one of the challenges that Eco Start Stop creates is, like, normally when you start your car, your radio shuts off and like your HVAC stops running and like all of those things. So like if you get in your car and your car isn't running and you like turn the key, you'll see that your accessories drop out while it's starting. Well, that's a challenge, right? You want the car to be able to start without like your heat running low or your radio changing in any way. So the way that Mercedes does it is they have two batteries in the car. So this one runs the accessories, and then there's another one under the hood, big normal regular battery like every other car has, that starts the car. So when you go to a stop sign and you sit there for a minute, the car shuts off, all of your accessories run off of this, and then when you pick your foot up off the brake and the car goes to start again, it starts from the one under the hood, so you don't have to worry about any voltage sag or any components acting up. In order to do that, they have a battery isolator that is over here, and that battery isolator basically charges this battery from the rest of the car when the car is running, and then when the car is not running, it disconnects it so that this can run all of your accessories and it's not used to start the car. So we'll grab power off of this battery isolator here. We'll grab ground off of this grounding point that's right here, and then we'll work on the rest. Now, let me grab a couple tools here. These wire strippers are pretty awesome if you work on cars on a regular basis. So these are the Irwin ones, vice grip ones. I've used a variety of brands. Klein makes them too. I like the vice grip ones the best. I've actually owned 4 or 5 pairs in my life. Eventually what ends up happening is there's a spring in the back here that breaks when you've used them enough. So then you end up having to replace them. But what you can do is you can tap into wires without actually having to cut those wires. So you see here how I just kind of made a break in this white wire. So this black and this white both need to be grounded, and the white already has a little tap on it. So what I'm going to do is I stripped the center of this white wire, and then I normally use like a pick, or if you have a multimeter out, you can use the meter probe, something like that, just to kind of open that up, make a hole, and then you stick this wire through like that, and you wrap it around like that, and then we can tape this up. A lot of people insist on using solder in cars, and I don't want to get into a giant philosophical debate about it with anybody in the comments. I don't use solder because I was taught to not use solder. The factory does not use solder. Solder creates a hard joint, and the vibration or flexing of that hard joint over time can lead to failure. And I said that factory doesn't use solder. Honestly, I was supposed to connect the red to the white, not the black. So the factory doesn't use solder. With the exception of GM, I've seen solder used in GM harnesses before, and the reason I've seen them is because they fail and because I've had to fix them. So they had a harness where, I think it was the Impala, where there's a giant solder joint of multiple connections underneath the back seat, and they fail, and then the Bose amp in the back stops working, and you end up having no sound, and a bunch of other stuff. So in general, I don't agree with the use of solder when you're doing this type of stuff. But to each their own. I'm sure there are plenty of people that have used solder for a long time and have had a good experience that way. I've not used solder and had a great experience as well. We used to have to lifetime warranty all of our installations, so if it failed, I got to fix it for free. So this white and red are our ground. Red is the signal for the brake wire because it's integrated in the tail light. So we'll do that like that. And then this black is power. They give you in the kit these, we always used to call them vampire clips. I don't know what they're actually called, but it's this style clip where you take a wire and poke it in, and then you put this over a wire in the car and you snip this down. I don't like these. I generally don't use them because you're basically slicing into the factory wire with this metal tab, and it's again a failure point. They didn't give me any sort of fuse holder, and I feel like I need one. Let's connect our ground first. So I think our ground is a 10 mil. So I'm just gonna connect this to the same ground that's already here. It's a good grounding point. It's nice and solid. There's a bunch of factory wires already under it. Tighten this up. Now when you're connecting a harness or anything like this, especially when you're connecting to like signal wires or computerized wires, the order you should connect the wires is ground first, then power, then you grab the signal wires. And the reason for that is if you connect ground without power, it's not going to do anything to this, but if you connect power without ground, sometimes it'll make it bleed voltage into other wires. So that's why you always do ground first. And you want to have ground and power so this module is powered up and doing the right things before you start tapping into signal wires, because you don't want the BCM to freak out. BCM stands for Body Control Module, if you didn't know. So I had a fuse holder. This is probably something that should have come with the kit. Anytime you're connecting to power in a car, you should have a fuse next to whatever device you're connecting. That will protect you if you do have a short or if there's a failure within the device, that it's not going to cause a fire, melt a bunch of wires, or blow up your battery, depending on the size and gauge and type of load failure. This is a heat shrink butt connector and a cigarette lighter. I don't know why we call them cigarette lighters. Cigarettes aren't the only things that you can light with a lighter. So that's that. This has a 15 amp fuse in it. That's honestly probably a little on the high side. Probably just fine with like a 10. But you don't know what trailer we're going to be pulling and you know what lights they're going to have. I'm coming off of this big heavy gauge wire. So I think this guy is rated for 15 amps. Yep. What's weird is the wiring diagram shows a fuse holder, like they're telling you to use one, but there wasn't one in the box. I don't know, maybe I just got one that didn't have one. I seem to remember it being there last time. So, next thing I need to do is I'm going to remove this wire here from this isolator. It's a 10. So again, every car is going to be a little bit different where you're going to get power from and stuff. I would say the worst case scenario, you might have a car that you don't have power back here. You might not have a rear fuse box, you might not have a rear battery. You might have to run up to the front of the car to get power, and that sucks, and I'm sorry for you. But you know, that is a reality sometimes, especially with these smart harnesses or any accessories, you know, when we're installing an amplifier, a subwoofer, power inverter, you know, any of those types of devices. Oftentimes we have to run power wire all the way from the battery back. It's kind of the same thing, just starting in a different place. But this honestly is one of the reasons why I really like this platform. We'll do a sound system in here, probably sooner rather than later. Talked about that a little bit recently. I don't know. Maybe maybe we start on that next weekend, laying all of that out. All of the electrical components being back here is actually super nice for adding accessories. Hopefully you would have some sort of rear power that was available. Maybe a cigarette lighter adapter back here, something like that that you could pull off of. In this case, I don't have a cigarette lighter. I do have a 115 volt inverter that's here from the factory. It's this guy right there. It's only 150 watt, so it only run like a 1 amp accessory. It's really for like a phone charger, radio, something like that. You know, you can't plug anything crazy into it. So there we go. Our power and ground are both connected. I have these two wires which have to go here, and then this wire which has to go over to there. So I'm gonna unplug my light, which is right here. Just a 4-pin plug, or 6-pin plug, I guess, that goes into the back of it. And we're just gonna remove this bit of tape that's here. Wires next to each other like this, you might be tempted to just connect them all and tape them all at the same time, but you should do them one at a time, because if these short out, you don't know what's on the other end of them that could cause an issue if they do happen to touch. Also, if you're doing a bunch of them together, it might make sense to stagger them. And you can also see that I double tape. So I do a single tape, and then I do another tape over the top. So same thing here. Let's see if I can give you a close-up of this operation. So we've got our blue wire. We're gonna spread that apart, get our nice opening there. We're gonna strip the end off of this green, which is what's going to connect to it. Twist that nice and tight. Stick a pick or something through this blue to open that up like that. Go through here like this. And then you end up with basically that. Single piece of tape, start before, put it on at a diagonal, so you're like that angle, and just keep going. Pull it tight on every wrap. You're kind of stretching the tape around it so it's nice and tight, like that. And then grab another one, same size, maybe a little bit shorter. Same thing, diagonal, go over the entire thing. That way, if your tape ever does peel, like there's no way they're both going to come off. It's just not going to happen. So, because we peeled back some of the factory tape, just do a little ring like that. Another little ring like this, just to keep that nice and tight. We can wrap the rest of this if we want to, and then plug this back in. Okay, and then the last thing we have to do is connect this yellow wire. It's going to go down here to this harness right here. It's just this one here. This happens to run over to that tail light from here. So there's no harnesses down the driver's side of this car. They all come from this side and wrap around. We'll open this up, and the wire that I need is this pink one here. And we can strip that, strip this. If we're going to tape this, we should probably do it now. And then we're going to take this, just make sure you route the wires the right way so that you don't, like, if you ran it through here, then you wouldn't be able to put the door on, right? So we'll take our pick, poke it through there, stick this through. Same thing again. Tape it twice. And then tape up this harness so it's not loose. And then that's really it. So the last piece is we have to mount this somewhere. Last time what I did was I zip tied it to these harnesses that are here because they're nice and cloth and flexible, so it's not going to rattle anywhere. You could also maybe like bolt it to this eyelet here. I've talked about these before. I only use these zip ties. They're like flat when you connect them together. They're flat, so you don't end up with like those sharp burrs under hood or wherever you're trying to work. So I'll do that, and then we'll zip tie down here. I'm gonna tape a little bit more of this. Again, this is completely optional. You don't have to do it. I like it. It keeps the cables together. It gives you a little bit of abrasion protection. It also tends to match the vehicle aesthetic. All the harnesses from the factory are taped. Now they're in cloth, which I should see one day if you could buy that cloth tape. I'm sure you can. So I'll have to tape the whole thing, and then we'll be able to test this. I'll stick that up there for now. Test this out. So this is a test light. Generally, you don't want to use this on computerized things. You just want to use this on higher current applications like this, thing that's running a light or something big like a battery. Basically, this white one over here, that's a single pin by itself. That's the ground where I've got this clip hooked. So we can test our ground, make sure that works. That works just fine. If we turn our tail lights on, we should see this brown work. All right, so we can see our tail lights are on, so we should have power on the brown, which we do, nothing on the other two. And then let's turn on our left turn signal. Left turn signal should be yellow, just like that. And then our right turn signal should be green, just like that. That should also light both of those up. So that tested properly. Basically, in order to test this, what you need to do is white is ground. So I checked the ground against a power source. Ground to power, I had power. Everything worked fine. Now, brown is a tail light. So this should only be on when your headlights are on and your tail lights are on. It is not a brake light, it's a tail light. That's also going to power the side indicators and stuff like that on the trailer. So if it has side lights, those will come on too. And then these two are combination turn/brake. So when you press the brake, they should come on. When you have the turn signal on, they should blink with the turn signal. The yellow is the left or driver side, and the green is the right or passenger side. So did everything it's supposed to do. So that's a success. Could take this guy here and put it on like that. And then one last thing that I always like to do, this is called dielectric grease. Basically, it's a grease that prevents corrosion. So it's specifically for electronic contacts. You'll often see this on trailer wires, harnesses, stuff like that. Because this is something that's out in the elements, this is nice to keep you from having any sort of issues. So normally you could just kind of stick your plug in it and then plug it into your trailer and it'll spread it all out, or use your fingers. But just like that, put that cover on. This is like MSD Spark Guard, which I just have a little tub of it. But if you don't have this, you can get it. Most auto parts stores like O'Reilly's, they typically have it at the checkout. It comes in like a little packet, like a ketchup packet kind of. So you could buy one of those and just spread it out or squeeze it out onto your harness. And then, either keep the rest or throw the rest away. So what I do now is I'll take this and I'll tuck this back here. We'll take our cover, this side cover, and we'll put that back into place like that. And then we can start putting our car back together. So we've got this side over here, tray here. Okay, that's nice and tight. So this just snaps into place. We've got this T30 here. Put our tray back in over here. This is our first aid kit that goes in here. There's a little rubber boot thing that goes here. Stick that into place. And then I have a little, this is a jump pack and an air compressor. Although I don't really need that in here because this car has an air compressor. I didn't really show that, but it's down in here in this compartment. So it comes with a compressor from the factory. And I'm about to lose this spare tire well because I'm going to put my amps and stuff in there. So this hooks in there. You could put this back in there. That snaps. And like I keep saying, like everything about working on these cars is just super nice. Like this, just latches into place nicely. I don't know. They're just great. For a $15,000 used car, this thing is awesome. I haven't really talked about these next LED lights on camera much yet. I've been just using them, like living with them. I really, really like them, honestly. There might be very small edge cases or specific use cases that they're not like the very best for, but they've been super effective every single time I've used them. They've worked very well. I'm actually using the work light behind the camera right now to light me up for the camera. So like I'm not even using my camera lights anymore. So speaking of that, if anybody wants a set of IllumiCube Studios, I have the studio panel kit. They're like retail for like 300 bucks. I'll sell them to you at a really good price. One of them's hardly used. The other one I used quite a bit, but anyway. Yeah. This underhood light set is awesome. It works great for cleaning interiors. It works great for stuff like this. You could obviously just use the light stick if you want to, and you know, we could take this and just hang this here. They have other hooks that come with it, so you can hang one on the back here and just have it be a single light, you know, whatever you want to do. There's a lot of versatility and options. I'm going to do a full video on them. They just came out with another light, which is a coating light, coating application light. So I ordered that. It's not here yet. I kind of want to do it all together. If that takes a while to show up, then I might just do it as a two-part video. I think for the money, they're a tremendous value, like really, really good. 90 to 95% as good as the best ones out there for half the price. So like I said, there's going to be a link in the description to my walkthrough on MB World. You don't have to be like signed in or anything like that to view it. It's got pictures and everything, close up of every one of these items that I was talking about. You know, from like back in the forum days. If this is helpful, awesome. If you want to argue about soldering versus not soldering, just don't even bother commenting. I don't want to get into spirited debates. If you do things differently than I do, that doesn't make me right and you wrong. That doesn't make you stupid. That doesn't mean that, you know, anything like that. There are multiple ways to do this. I did it as a professional for a long time. I did very well at what I did, and had very few comebacks, and most of them were due to equipment failure, not due to, you know, installation issues, if that makes sense. So, so yeah, my experience just pushes me in this direction. So thank you for watching. I hope that you're having a great day, and I'll catch you next time. I'm going to start working on some other things here. I want to do an iconic video today, and I want to, this needs to be washed. Like, check it out. It's like actually dirty. My new receiver should be here, and then I'll be good to go. For now, I could tow a trailer with this if I wanted to. It would just be a little on the low side, a little bit out of my comfort zone. 2 inches low is a decent amount. These are boxes for the pad washer splash guard. So I ordered 14 by 14 by 4s and 14 by 14 by 3s. I got 25 of each. I do not expect that 50 of them are going to take 50 boxes. I think that there are some people that are going to buy multiple. The 4-inch boxes are for the people that buy multiple. The 3-inch boxes are for people that just buy one. But yeah, it looks like 30 bucks is going to be the number. They did tell me it's going to be 25 to 30 days before I'm going to have them though. They sent me an email basically stating that the orientation of my part requires it to be printed in one piece on a very specific printer, and they could do it faster if I'd be willing to cut it into 2 pieces. I said I'm not. Well, so, you know, we're looking at 25 to 30 days, unfortunately. Could 2 pieces work? Maybe. Do I want to risk it when I'm buying 50 of them for the first time? Definitely not. So anyway, that's all. Have a great day.